Hi, I have finally finished writing the tutorial series over on my blog. I will put a link below in the description box on how to make leporello books. Leporello is a different word for an accordion fold, and this book has an accordion insert with signatures. I have written, as I said, a tutorial series on how to make these, and thought I will go through what this finished example looks like. For this one, I found a cover that fitted the size of the leporello base that I had already made. Normally, I make the cover for these from scratch, like I did with this one, where I covered the book board myself and made the spine so I could have the exact size for the leporello base. But for this one, I actually found this book cover in my stash of covers that I collected to make journals with, and it fitted the size of the base just right. So I used that instead of having to make one from scratch. And I like the illustration and the spine of this very much. You can make a leporello book any size you want, depending on the material you have available, depending on the cover you want to use, depending on the material you have for the base. You could make the cover to match that and whatever else you have available. This one happens to measure 5 inches wide by 8 inches tall, and the spine is 1.25 inches, almost 2 inches wide. Because this is an accordion fold, it opens in 2 directions. I decorated this one a lot. I inked the base, which is made from 300 GSM cardstock. It is very heavy paper. And I inked it with distress inks. I put some washi tape details on it. And this is in general very embellished and very full. I used pattern papers, gift wrapping paper, acetate. I cut this acetate butterfly to put into this book. Ticket strips, calendar pages with flowers. I made some file tabs. I made some paper clips that have fabric flowers attached to them. There are some pockets with pretty things in them. There's a flower card that I backed with packaging paper and stamped on it. There's some tickets that I made from leftover pattern paper that I had. There's a jar and another die cut leaf. I put some trims, crochet lace and other kinds of trims on some of the page edges or the pocket edges. I used an on the edge die on this one. There's some stamping on some of the blank back sides from the calendar pages. I made some tags with pattern paper. I made some envelopes out of book paper and decoupaged napkins. There are some some things in those envelopes, a big journaling card or photo mat, and some die cuts or little postcards. There's some different things in all of the envelopes. There's some more little extras, tag, a little postcard, a cutout butterfly, and another ticket. I used all the pink and green things that I could find. This is from the back of a wall calendar that has little images of all the big images that are in the calendar. So I cut these out and taped them. They could be repositioned or removed. So this was the first signature that opens to the right. And now when we go back to the beginning, there's a paper clip with some flags that I made and another postcard charm. On the inside there's a card from a card game that I backed with some inked paper. Just a little bit extra. But when we go and flip this to the left, there's another signature. There's another one of those calendar cards. Sorry, this is my phone. Excuse me. I'll call back. There's some more tags. A big side pocket that has an illustration from a book with some ice creams or drinks. A piece from tea packaging that matched the colors and another leaf. A vellum butterfly page. I cut some file tabs with the envelope punch board. There's another envelope with some more big photo or journaling mats, some tickets, and another tag, another little tag card. I did some stamping along on the side of some of the file tab shapes. And now we can flip this. This is the center of the whole accordion fold section, as you can see. That has a butterfly insert that I made. I also have instructions on how to do that on my blog. And then it goes on to the next signature. There's another butterfly. There's a photo mat or journaling card with a pocket attached. Oh, there's another leaf in there too. Beautiful image from a calendar. This file tab got a little wrinkled because of the elastic that goes over the top of the book. There's some more leaves and another jar and another card from a game. And this is the the end of the leporello base on the one side. As you can see, we went through both the signatures that face the outside edge, and the back of it is attached to the back cover. And now when we go back towards the inside, we went through the first signature already. Now when we flip this over, there are some pocket inserts, and this is what actually, let me put this aside and open this a little more. This panel with the slits is what actually holds two pieces of the base cardstock together. And I have full instructions on how to do that. There's some postcards. I have full instructions on how to do that on my blog. I did my best to describe this as detailed as possible, as well as I could, and I took a lot of pictures while I made this. And then in the back there's the fourth signature. Oops. Oh, I forgot to back this. I have to do that. There's a clear file tab, that's always fun. Another clear butterfly wing page. Another envelope with a butterfly and another photo mat. And there's another illustration. This was from an Andy Warhol book that I took apart. Another little postcard. I like to use leftovers from these calendar pages, like these. I always have to trim them, so I like to use the scraps to make little postcards with, because it's a beautiful flower image. And then in the very back, I like to put a little mini folio. This one opens like an envelope with a string tie, and it's a tiny little folder, and you could put lots of different things in there. I always like to make file tabs with some of the paper scraps and put them in there, so there will always be some at hand when whoever uses the book needs something like a file tab, wants to put a file tab somewhere. And I already put some double-sided tape on the back of these so that they could be used wherever you take the book, and you don't have to wait until you get home and could glue them on. The whole construction of this is, it's not very difficult. It takes a little bit of time, and in some parts take a bit of concentration. Just need a little bit of focus so that you don't glue anything upside down or front to back or something, because you would want this to open the right way. You wouldn't want the whole base of this, the whole insert, to be lopsided in the book. This looks like it's not glued on properly, if you can see that. The edge of this lifts a little bit. This is because there is a signature in there. There is bulk to this. So I I used double-sided tape to glue this on, and I glued it up until that point, because from experience with these, I know that the very edge likes to lift off. This does not mean that the whole book is falling apart. This is actually exactly the way it behaves and it wants to behave. You can fill this sort of journal with anything that you like. You can make the signatures anything you want. You could add another signature in there where the two pieces of the base are connected to each other. I just wouldn't really recommend it, and I have explained why also in the tutorial that I have on my blog. You could of course make the base shorter. It could have less folds than I have here. Also from experience, I can tell that having it any longer is not very practical. And then another thing that needs to be considered when you make one of these is that while a normal book that is bound at the spine, let me just grab one. Any book that is bound at the spine can expand like this. If you glue lots of things onto the pages, and if you keep a lot of things in this book, it can open like this, and you could use a ribbon to tie it together, but it wouldn't really hurt the book at all. With this, you have to remember that the signatures face both ways. So if you glue pictures in there, this will expand that way. And if you glue pictures into that signature, it will expand this way. And so forth. So your spine needs to accommodate that. Because when this gets fuller and fuller, it will actually open out like this, and not just like this. So with these, it is always good to have a spine that is actually wider than the book itself would be. Like if I press this together, this is how thick this is, but the spine still has a little bit of give. Because this was a cover that was already finished and I didn't want to change anything with this cover, I just had to leave it like that. And it just about fits. If I had made a cover from scratch for this insert, I would probably have made the spine about 1/2 inch wider, just to make sure that the insert can expand a little more. Since I am going to give this book to my mom as a birthday present, she's not watching this, so she won't know. I know that she is not going to put much more into this, so this is going to be fine. If you make something that's intended to be a photo album, for example, put less ephemera in it, maybe have less pages in the signatures, but keep the spine at keep the spine wider than you would think necessary, because this expands at the front and at the spine area. That's just a little word of caution, because I've made quite a lot of these and I have one in use that I keep track of all my knitting projects, and it sort of exploded and I had to take off the spine off the cover with all of the insert attached to it and make the spine wider, which was a little bit tricky, but it just didn't close anymore and was not very handy to use. Anyway, if you want to make something like this, go over to my blog. I will link to all the tutorial parts in the video description. If something is unclear or if you have any further question, please don't hesitate to ask. You can leave a comment on the video. You can contact me via my Facebook page. I will also leave a link to that. Asking questions on the blog, I wouldn't recommend doing that because I think you don't get notification when I reply. So you would have to come back and check your comment to see if I have replied and answered your question, if you have any. So if you have questions, it's probably better to comment on the video or leave me a message on Facebook if you need to. So, well, that was it. I hope you enjoyed that. If you did, subscribe, comment, like, share if you like to do that, and I will see you again very soon. Bye!